This is Zach with the Libertarian Party of Nebraska, and I am here with Joe Paschal. How you doing, Joe?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I can't complain. I live in America.
I hear you.
And we are here because Joe is, I believe, the last interview we have for the Vice Chair series, unless someone else jumps up. And I still might not even cover it at that point because it'll be too close to the convention. But you are running for Vice Chair of the Libertarian Party. How about you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you've done in the Liberty movement, and just kind of a general background.
I'm Joe Paschal. I was raised in Virginia, and I moved to Montana about 10 years ago. And I haven't really been super active in the party, to be honest. I mean, I've kind of been a libertarian all my life. The first person I ever voted for in my life was the third party candidate. And, I've just been, everybody I've ever talked to, we talk, I love to talk politics. A lot of people don't like it, but, I always talk about liberty. I was raised in Virginia, in rural Virginia, like I said. And, I was raised studying Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, George Washington, the founding fathers. And if you look at their vision of liberty and how far we have strayed as a country from that vision, it's kind of sickening in my eyes. We need to get back what the founders intended on it. Liberty for one, liberty for all, minimal government, and the Constitution being created as a restraint for politicians and to give us more freedom.
Okay. So have you held any positions within the Libertarian Party so far, or are you coming in as kind of an outsider? Because there's actually been several people who have expressed interest in doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I've never held a position within the party, local or any national, of course, and it's just I'm an outsider. And not outsider to the liberty movement per se, but an outsider to the party.
And if there was ever a time for that, it seems like now we're getting a lot of, I guess, what some people would term outsiders coming into the party. Like I wasn't very involved until about a year ago, so they might consider me that too. So I think it's great. What do you think the role of vice chair is? Because I've gotten a different answer from almost every candidate about this. What do you think the vice chair should be doing?
I mean, what the vice chair is, how they've got it. I mean, you're supposed to just take direction from the chair, and you're kind of you're there in case he can't perform his duties. But what I'd like to see the vice chair get to, it's be a voice and for the party, but it really, to me, we need to support local candidates. The chair and a lot of the party focuses on these big national elections, which are important for our movement. I don't ever want to take away from that. But things that I'd like to look at and focus on is stuff like helping local candidates for city council stuff, and I've said it before, a big problem in our party, we've got great people that have this huge vision for liberty and very likable people, but they don't have a great public speaking presence per se. They're the kind of things we need to mentor these people on, and using that vice chair position to reach out to people and say, hey, why don't we help these guys out and kind of help these candidates get to points to where they can win elections.
All right, that's really cool. So, there's obviously the incumbent, Arvin Vora, and then there's several other people who have announced, like Alex Merced. I'm tired, so all these names are like bouncing around my head, and I can't remember. What sets you apart from them, either stylistically or maybe tactically? What's different about you that they don't have?
Well, I live in Montana. That makes me different from all of them. But but the other part is I come from a straight blue collar. I don't have a college degree. You know, I was homeschooled for the latter part of my high school career. And I've been working construction my whole life. And, you know, I know a bunch of off-gridder type people. And then, you know, I've worked with a bunch of, in Montana, I've met a bunch of Mennonites and Hutterites, they call them different places, right? And those, they are all registered voters, and it's one of these areas that people never really focus on. But if you ever talk to those people, they're more libertarian probably than a lot of middle America, to be honest with you. I mean, they just need a candidate to follow. And my thing is, I want, you know, it's kind of more grassroots stuff. I think social media is a great tool. I love it. But at the end of the day, probably only half of libertarians really use social media. There's quite a bit of libertarians out there that don't even use social media. So it's got to be old school tactics, you know, go out meeting people, go to city council meetings, just say hi, you know, and let them know who you are. And I think people want to hear more from the party in that forum.
All right. So you touched on something that I think is really unique, talking about being blue collar, and sorry, I'm getting over being sick, so my sinuses are going crazy. Also, homeschool pride, way to go.
Yes, sir. And we've homeschooled all our children too.
That's awesome. That's something that I definitely think that is the like, not to say that people who don't homeschool can't be a libertarian or anything, but I think homeschooling it should be a cornerstone part of the Libertarian Party because of how bad we know a lot of public schools are.
Yeah.
Would you say that, you know, all of your opponents that I can think of are from bigger states, kind of East Coast states, even if they're not on the coast? Like, some of them are a little farther inland, but they're still kind of that eastern block of states.
Yeah.
To me, that sounds like what sets you apart the most is you know, even though you were from Virginia, you said you very much have this rancher farmer mindset, and that's definitely something that Nebraskans can get behind. How does that influence you differently than you know, kind of their backgrounds? And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with their background, but you have a very different perspective from many of the leaders in our party.
And yes, I was raised in Virginia, but I was raised in a very rural farming community and you know, I watched things. It was very big textile country when I was growing up. Tobacco country was a cornerstone, big farms. You know, and I watched government involvement, subsidies for other things, and then government restrictions on things. And I watched those industries just completely collapse. And it was all about government involvement. You know, that's the middle America. I mean, you know, our country was built on agricultural based economy. And it was always a big part of our economy. And those kind of things are going away. And, you know, I think that our whole movement about getting back to that kind of root, because you think most of our founding fathers were farmers, you know, and that's where our roots lie in this country. And I think that the liberty movement still lives there as well.
All right, due to some technical difficulties, we had to cut the interview short, but that was Joe Paschal. Very interesting take on running for vice chair. I think it's really good that we have an outsider who's not really connected to a lot of other people in the race. I think that brings a little bit of balance and some new ideas. And hopefully we can really delve into those ideas as this race unfolds. So for Joe Paschal, I'm Zach Taylor. Have a great week, Nebraska.